Hello, Wastelanders, or just horse fans in general. This is SkyBolt coming at you with another SkyBolt live stream because it's gonna be thin on content for another couple of months until I can upload more parodies again. Hopefully. Did you like that song? British phonographic industry? That original song composed by a Balefire Symphony composer. That was Dairobi, back from the old Stabletech days. The cider trot from our goat commercial. Their promo, whatever the fuck it was. Yeah, so you could try to copyright that, you fucking bongs. Anyway, so as I kind of expected, I knew I could feel it was coming, that as soon as the scarlet letter was fastened to my chest by Susan herself, or the fucking, or Weekend, Mr. Weekend coming over and marking my channel with an actual copyright strike, I knew that they would start fine-tooth combing everything else on the channel. So, for the last couple of weeks, I have gotten successive alerts such as this in my email box. A warning, copyright claim was created for this content. Copyright claim was created for this content. Copyright claim was created for this content. So now it's going through, little by little, every one of my parodies and making sure it's noting who owns what very clearly and explicitly. God forbid a video that gets 3 views a year is, that fraction of a penny is not properly diverted to the proper advertiser. So that's so fucking funny. So backstory on this. Usually, obviously, I'm accustomed to getting things like this. I roughly like once a month, I'll get a notification that YouTube has correctly identified the owner of, either the backing music or the general sound of the music. Even karaoke versions they'll pick up on sometimes. So that's interesting. And again, that's totally fine. That's why I expect it to do eventually. But it's like, now it's the constant notifiers that I've gotten like 24, I think, over the last 2 weeks, where it's like, okay, so it's working its way through the rest of my channel. So I'm just kind of sitting here with bated breath like, oh God, is he gonna strike anything else? A couple of them that I expected it to, it didn't, though. So I'm kind of, I'm kind of feeling better than I thought I should be. So we'll see what happens. But yeah. So for the time being, it's gonna have to be the stuff like this. The Sky blogs that would have been going on the East Corp channel will have to come here for now, which is kind of fine anyway, because I've been working very studiously on my new series, which will eventually have a weekly release. But when those weekly releases begin is kind of the thing I'm waiting to figure out. That's what I'm trying to time correctly. I just got done with casting the rest of the cast, besides myself, obviously. And it's pretty great. It's like a Confessions reunion. Everyone's getting redirected into new roles and new fun things they can do. And now I've taken proper tabulation. So it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. Hello, Sketchy Rivet in the chat. I see you there. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. So that'll obviously be happening over the East Corp channel. As far as this channel goes, hopefully after the strike expires, which I believe is the 21st of October, maybe for Halloween or Fallout Day or whatever, I can release some kind of parody on this channel. That would be fun. We'll see. Until the strike 90-day countdown is lifted, I definitely won't be taking the chance, unfortunately. But we did have, I forget who suggested this, but we have our East Corp Discord server. And someone in there suggested, there's a conversation going on about favorite Fallout companions, and they suggested going through all the Fallout companions in like a ranked tiered list. Now I don't have one of those fancy like S, A, B, C, D, E, F things like like a professional YouTuber does, but I do have the Fallout Wikia. And so what I'm thinking we could do is just go page by page and review all the companions from Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 4 and get my thoughts from them, my experiences with them. It's going to be kind of fun because there's a good chunk of these that I've never really had as a companion. And that'll reflect quite a bit on my judgment, obviously, that I didn't find them interesting enough to even deign be in my company. So obviously we'll start with New Vegas and then we'll go to Fallout 4. Respectively, I've spent 12, I want to say at least a dozen full playthroughs of Fallout New Vegas. As far as how that breaks down in terms of endings, I probably played like 5 or 6 of those as the you ending, the yes man, where you rule Vegas, because of course, I wanted to rule Vegas. Probably another 3 endings were NCR, and another 3 endings were Mr. House, and then I want to say 1 or 2 were Legion endings. I did 1 Legion ending for the achievement, and then I did another Legion ending where I was really trying to play like Legion. Like I even gave my character a really Roman name like Kinkinatus, I think, which is really funny. And anyway, so that was a good time. But yeah, so I've played a lot of New Vegas, but there's even still some of these New Vegas companions that I've never really had the company of. But let's start. Hello, Chris Blessings. I'm glad some of our old world friends are awake to join us still. Let's begin with no. We already know Corona Opponent is always with us. There we go. Okay. Let's start with Eddie from Lonesome Road. So, for everyone who knows, Fallout New Vegas had 4 exceptional DLCs. Obviously, we'll get to it when we get to covering the least of the exceptional DLCs, but Lonesome Road was very well planned on their part. It felt like they responded to fan criticism pretty quickly. Obviously, the main one, the very first DLC was Dead Money, and the main fan criticism was, once it starts, you can't leave. It's the Operation Anchorage problem, and people didn't like that. I didn't like that. It keeps me from doing Dead Money in random, vegging out playthroughs that I do of New Vegas. So they didn't do that. So they planned it in such a way where you, at any time you could stop and turn around and go back, which is great. But this Eddie here, we're gonna call him. I call him Chicago Eddie. It's I've always thought of him in my head as Chicago Eddie because there's that early dialogue with him where he passed through Chicago on his way to the west and heading toward Navarro, way after Navarro was freaking dead. This is the Eddie that takes on the characteristics and personality from the famous Ralphie TV show that aired back during the old world in the before times of the Fallout universe. And so you get a bit of information about his backstory and his interactions with his creator and stuff. Let's see here what the Wikia says about him. After New California Republic's successful attack on Navarro, the NCR started searching for Enclave technology. While understanding the purpose of one device, they recognized the symbols on it from those of the Divide and hired the courier to deliver the package there. The courier delivered it and left, and the mysterious device just started launching nukes, and then the Divide got all blown up. So sad for the Divide. Upon joining the courier's party, Eddie starts playing a log from Dr. Whitley and continues doing at certain checkpoints throughout their trip through the Divide. Unlike its Mojave counterpart, this version of Eddie has much more emotion and feelings. And yes, that is the main difference between Lonesome Road Eddie and standard New Vegas Eddie, is that this one actually has a personality, a little beepy personality, whereas New Vegas Eddie really doesn't. And that's definitely something that separates the two of them. Let me pull up his picture. We might as well rate them together since they're very, very similar in function and execution. Okay. So between the two, which is the better companion, we have New Vegas Eddie. Obviously, is sort of like an always companion for me. Honestly, it's like as soon as I get him, he's my pack mule. I just use him to store shit, and then he's an extra laser fire, which helps, and maintenance table for like fixing stuff. So that's very useful. I do like the Lonesome Road Eddie. But I'll be honest, his story is not super compelling for me. Like, even in my second playthrough, I was kind of skipping through it. So, what we're going to do is we're going to give Lonesome Road Eddie a C. I'm marking this down so we have our final list at the end. Putting him in the C tier. And then we're going to make New Vegas Eddie a B. Just because of his sheer utility as a companion. Okay. So, I think that's pretty fair. New Vegas Eddie, completely personality free. He doesn't talk much, which in some ways is a plus. New Vegas Eddie, one thing holding him back from like an A tier is like, sometimes the little battle tone is nice. Other times it's like, no, stop it. Other times it feels like he's giving me away when I'm being all sneaky. So, that's Eddie's. Lonesome Road, and then where was the other Eddie? Okay, next up on the list is, like I said, we're going through sort of the lesser ones first. I brought in that Eddie just because, but we're going through the companions that are DLC, limited. So we have Old Walking Cloud, who is our introduction to the Honest Heart. Or I'm sorry. This is Follows Chalk for the Honest Hearts DLC. Honest Hearts is a nice DLC. It is kind of fun where you can enter and leave at will. Unfortunately, it doesn't have as much to do, honestly. It's not, it's not this elaborate, like, robot factory, and it's not all the monstrous hellscapes of the Divide. It's very pretty for, 2010 Xbox graphics. It's pretty. I still want a remaster of New Vegas someday, where they bring all that up to 4K, 60... I don't really care, honestly, about the 60 frames per second. I still get that weird, like soap opera vibe when I see 60 frames per second. But anyway, Follows Chalk, he's a good guy. He's really just interested in like exploring the rest of the world. Like he's kind of grown sick of his like time with the dead horses, and he's an idolizes Joshua Graham and stuff. So he's kind of nice. He helps you find your way through the wasteland a little bit. Yeah, so, DLC characters, they don't have a super big impression. It's probably C. We'll put him in C. Because there's nothing explicitly negative about him. He just doesn't stand out. Okay. And staying with our Honest Hearts DLCs, we're going to be going to Walking Cloud. The actual Walking Cloud this time. So she is one of the Sorrows, I want to say. Let me pull it up. Yes, she is from the Sorrows tribe and one of Daniel's first converts. Daniel is the pacifist neo-Mormon from Honest Hearts. And let's see here. Daniel saved her life when she was giving birth to her third child and taught her how to properly deliver children, so she became the Sorrows midwife and started to learn from Daniel's Mormon faith. Walking Cloud speaks with a good level of English, indicating she has been learning for quite a while. She has a husband and 3 children. However, this is a big part of her character plot points. However, her husband was killed by a White Leg, which is the bad guys in Honest Hearts, as one of the first Sorrows to be evacuated to Grand Staircase. Daniel knows this. Daniel knows that her family is dead, but he has kept it from Walking Cloud, fearing her reaction. Walking Cloud suspects something is amiss, but has trusted Daniel enough that he would not keep anything important from her. You see, I seldom ever aligned with Daniel in my first playthroughs, but once I actually followed Walking Cloud's story, that made me kind of upset. I much disliked Daniel after that and made me feel really bad for Walking Leg. And I couldn't break it to her. I didn't have the heart to break it to her myself. So I chose the ending of, I'm sorry, I guess her kids are alive, but her husband was killed. So I chose the ending that says, Walking Cloud turned bitter and resentful toward Daniel and the new Canaanites when she learned of her husband's death had been concealed from her. She poisoned some of her tribe against the new Canaanite teachings, poisoned the ideology, making relations between the two groups difficult from time to time. Now, in the ending where you tell her the truth, it says, Walking Cloud was distraught when she learned of her husband's death, but took comfort from her tribe and the compassion of the new Canaanites. She forgave Daniel for having concealed her husband's fate from her and learned to accept his fate. When her grief faded, she took a husband from the dead horse tribe at her bidding and stayed close to home. So, I don't know. It's I chose the ending where I lied, and and that makes her hate them more. But at the same time, it's like maybe Daniel shouldn't have lied to her first. It wasn't my responsibility to tell her the truth. And you know what this kind of feels like to me? This feels like the Dale Gribble problem. For all of you anime fans who followed King of the Hill for the entirety of its run, there's the long-standing problem of so is anyone going to tell Dale Gribble that what's the kid's name? Their son, Joseph. I have to think of it in Bobby's voice. Joseph Gribble. When is anyone going to tell him that obviously Joseph Gribble is sired by John Redcorn? Obviously. And like literally I think a dozen episodes directly address not Luann, damn it. I forget the wife's name. Her past, well, not really past infidelities. I think she eventually breaks it off with John Redcorn, but she's like always he's a constant Mister? I don't know. What's the male version of mistress? He's her mistress for I think at least half of the show's run, and then there's a moral arc for her where she stops at least cheating on Dale. But I don't believe the show ever ends with him knowing. Or there's some fan theories about like he's always known, but like you know they're all fan theories in the line of like the Pixar theory, Pixar joint universe theory. So. Anyway, that's how I kind of think of it in terms of like, well, is it, whose place is it to break the lie? I don't know. Maybe it is right to tell the truth. Obviously, this game is indicating that the right answer is to tell the truth, so she forgives him. But I don't know. Anyway, Walking Cloud herself, except for that interesting backstory, doesn't really do much as a companion, so she also gets to see. I'm sorry, Walking Cloud. I didn't kill your husband. Daniel did. Okay. And then who is next on the docket? Oh, of course. Of course, the man himself. Joshua Graham, the burned man. He's quite the firebrand. Joshua Graham, formerly known as the Malpais Legate. I'm not pronouncing that right. Been looking up all these Latin pronunciations. Malpai? Malpai. I'm gonna say it as like southern as possible. The Malpais Legate, from the folk legends of the Birdman, is a Mormon missionary, the violent one, and co-founder of Caesar's Legion, its first legate. He led Caesar's troops to the first Battle of Hoover Dam, and then when they lost, Caesar covered him in oil and lit him on fire, and then rolled his ass into the Grand Canyon. Somehow he survived, but he's always changing skin wraps to keep I'm guessing the scars from getting seared off by the sun. Early life born in New Canaan, near the remains of Ogden, Utah. Blah, blah, blah. He became Blackfoot, and then the Malpais Legate, and then the prodigal son, and then he returns home. And his past having finally caught up to him, he returns home and joins with Daniel to bring peace to the tribes of Zion Canyon. Of course, being the agent of destruction that he is, he determines that, yeah, we should just freaking slaughter the white legs and we stay in our home. Zion is our home. We're not going anywhere. These white legs can get got. And his he's a very memorable character with very, very fantastic lines, such as is quoted here on the Fallout Wikipedia. I pray for the safety of all good people who come to Zion, even Gentiles, but we can't expect God to do all the work. So great. It's just so... And he's doing this while he's fixing old 1911s. 300-year-old 1911 pistols. Oh, fuck. 400 years old? Oh, my God. Anyway, so... Let's check the chat real quick. Hello, DJ Pyrotechnics. Hello, Sketchy Rivet. Do count Joshua Graham, because he is, well, temporary and for his ending and honest hearts. Yes, we are doing the DLC characters. Oh, fantastic. We have locals in the chat as well. I've been through Salt Lake City only once, and it was only in the airport, unfortunately. Wait. No. I feel like I've been through twice. I forget what the second time was. One time was for family when we were going to North Dakota to visit my grandmother before she died. And then another time I want to say was for a work trip. So, anyway. I've been through there. Yeah, Joshua Graham, just because he is such a memorable and iconic character, and while his reasoning is very violent, it is compelling, to say the least, in the fact that I almost always chose his ending. So we're going to give Joshua Graham a solid B. It's only a B because him as a character is great. Him as a companion is just like, it's literally just the last battle. So it's pretty good though. That's a solid B for Joshy G. It's quite a bit of companions in Honest Hearts. And it's like almost solely just because Honest Hearts is just one big nature tour. So they give you 3 companions to walk around and enjoy the scenery. All right, going back to the first DLC, though, we're going to kick off with the worst. God Dog. God Dog, the super mutant with a split personality, which is very in vogue in super mutant culture. God Dog is a psychologically disturbed Nightkin who helps Father Elijah by capturing the assistants for him and fitting them with the explosive collars. His alternate personality, God, referred to formerly as the Voice, is trying to break Dog free of Elijah's conditioning grasp. Anyway, there's not too much to say about him because of the way... The Dead Money DLC literally forces you to play with your 3 friends, your 3 companions, God Dog being one of them, and I don't care how brainwashed he was. You're still the reason I'm in this fucking mess. You dragged me halfway across Arizona and put a bomb collar on my neck. You can get fucked. I'm pretty sure the first time I killed him, like, on the way out. Like, when he comes to you and delivers you the shit at the end, immediately, I got my grenade launcher out. I'm like, okay, what is it? Whatever the Dead Money quote is. Some things you can't take with you. Anyway, and a companion, he's a functionary in the game, so it's a bit of a weird place in the game anyway, but I'm gonna give him a D because, yeah, he freaking dragged us into this mess in the first place and took our good weapons and armor and made us use the really shitty Dead Money weapons and armor. Oh, God, that hologram rifle. It's such shit. Even with maxed out energy weapon skills, it's such shit. So God Dog can get fucked. Okay, next we have old Dino. Old Dean Domino. Dean Domino, also known as the King of Swing, is the famous pre-war lounge singer, now ghoulified and trapped in the villa in 2281. We're going to read a little bit more of his background because he's basically a key plot point to the game. Dean Domino and his orchestra gave performances across the United States and Europe, including Paris, and had a particularly bad experience in Madrid. Not sure why that's noted. And of course, including casinos on the Las Vegas Strip, he was eventually invited to perform at the Sierra Madre. But there he quickly found himself in the shadow of the casino's founder, Frederick Sinclair. While Domino was quite irritated by this, it was a fact that Sinclair, despite suffering several quite severe financial losses throughout the 2070s, still maintained an unwavering, optimistic, and easygoing attitude that especially triggered Dean Domino's ire. Yeah, probably because Sinclair is like, if you do spend all the money, but you have like magic vending machines and like this expensive, super fancy bunker and all these weapon systems and magic holograms, like, yeah, I'd be pretty set too. I'm like, okay, let's say he goes into debt. What are you going to do about it? I mean, really, unless it's the government itself that's coming after him, which is probably unlikely at this point. It's like, what are you going to do? Who's going to call his debts once he's in his little Fortress Sinclair? Anyway, soon Domino found himself consumed with jealousy as he became single-mindedly determined to put Sinclair in his place by taking everything from him that he held dear. He enlisted the help of his former lover, Vera Keyes, the starlet who had caught Sinclair's eye. Domino introduced them to each other as part of a plan to break into the casino vault where he would take whatever it was that Sinclair had that was so important. However, Keyes got cold feet, so in order to ensure her continued cooperation, Domino began to blackmail her with evidence of her Med-X addiction, unaware that her addiction was actually the result of being terminally ill. Spoilers. Spoilers for the 10-year-old game. It is a good story, though. I know not everyone's a fan, but the Oxhorn guy is really good at doing like video like narratives of the Fallout stories and stuff, and his series on Dead Money is really dead on as far as presenting all the emotions of the plots and everything. Anyway, final gig at the Tampico down there at Sierra Madre. Bombs drop, and then security holograms, and then the gala event turns into a massacre, and Domino survived as a ghoul. But hey, everything's all ghouly ghosty now. And the residents of the villa got really spoopy and became ghosts. This is exactly as it's written in the Wikia, by the way. Anyway, so as you uncover the 2-century-old plot involving Dean Domino, he also tries to jerk you over at the end. So even though Hero 3, testing, oh my gosh, did it reset? Okay, I think we're back. All right, so I'm guessing that's the half-hour mark then, right? Yes, it is. Fantastic. Thank you, Susan. Okay, let me fix my error real quick, and then we will continue. Okay, so that's old Dino, and then our third companion that we are compelled to entertain over the course of the Dead Money DLC is Christine. Christine, you don't have to... wait, that's Roxanne. I feel like someone did a parody where it was Christine, or maybe that was just me. Knight Christine Royce is a mute human prisoner trapped in Sierra Madre in 2281. Knight Christine Royce, is a member of the Circle of Steel and internal affairs of the Brotherhood of Steel. She was a scribe in the Brotherhood of Steel before joining the Circle of Steel at the rank of knight. During her life in California, she was the lover of Veronica Santangelo. Never said her last name out loud before. Santangelo? I don't know. That doesn't sound like Spanish. Santangelo? That doesn't sound right either, though. All right, I'm sticking with Tangelo. The lover of Veronica. However, due to Elder Elijah's intervention, the two were separated. Oof. Cunt blocked. That's awful. The two were separated. Veronica stayed in the Mojave chapter while Royce was dragged into the Circle of Steel. Elijah abandoned the Brotherhood after a disastrous defense of Helios 1 and went off to, do his little party on all the other DLCs before ending up at the Sierra Madre. After getting trapped in the Y-17 medical facility for processing, where they were going to turn her into a lobotomite, she was rescued by Ulysses, the, Mr. Scary Voice from Lonesome Road, who never shuts the fuck up. See, her and Ulysses should switch. I want to hear her tell her life story, and I want Ulysses to shut the fuck up. Who blew up part of the city just so she could get out. She eventually tracked Father Elijah back to the Sierra Madre casino, where she was captured by God Dog and forced to work for him to get into the Sierra Madre vault for his little power stunt. She later regains use of her voice when the operation is completed by the auto dock in Vera Key's hotel room, where I guess basically that just gives her Vera Key's voice, which is just pretty cool. Yeah, and that's pretty sweet. Obviously, Vera Keys has the fantastic song from the DLC, the Begin Again Tonight. That's a great original Fallout song. Yeah, and then her bit at the end closing out the story about Vera Keys is very emotional. I always liked that. The only problem with Christine is that you can't take her back to the wasteland with you and reunite her with Veronica. It is criminal that they did not have a reuniting subplot where you could do that. Just send them off. Let them go be wherever they want. That would be fantastic. But in the interactions you have with Veronica and stuff, it's clear that they were already separated in spirit before they were separated physically. So probably, it would have had to be a whole storyline to actually bring them back together. But still, it's sad. It's just really sad. So, because she is an excellent companion and story point, we're going to give her a B as well. Christine Royce. Okay. Let's check the chat. I kind of agree with Joshua's ending, but giving mercy to the Salt Upon Wounds, or at least an honorable duel. Yeah, honorable duel, sniper rifle. It's all the same. I thought we went into California and Sierra Madre was there. My understanding, and maybe it's just a personal theory, I thought Sierra Madre was in the Sierra Vista area of southeastern Arizona. I thought that was part of the setting where southeastern Arizona, where it is like really high mountains and like peaks and stuff. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe it's just because I've visited Sierra Vista before that I associated the two. Anyway. Okay, I'm back. Saw Two Sisters play Fallout 4. Yeah, that's a classic, of course. Okay, so Christine, done. Next up is this. We'll just do it real quick. I have no idea who the fuck this is. And did he even save her picture? Oh, yeah, there we go. Roxy. I guess you could get a companion dog in Old World Blues from the X8 Research Center. Don't remember this at all. I don't know. Maybe you can. I don't think I've ever gotten her before. A cyber dog from the X8 Research Center. I remember you can get the companion of whatchamacallit, the dog minigun. And then, of course, actually a better companion from Old World Blues is the stealth suit. Running time, fighting time, just kidding. Now, she's the best companion from Old World Blues. She's going to be a ride-in. She wasn't even on the list, but I'm writing in stealth armor, solid B from Old World Blues. Yeah, so Roxy, I guess, is F category, because I have no idea what the fuck she even is. Sorry, Roxy. But you made literally zero impression on me after 12 playthroughs. Okay, next up we have, back to the top. Okay, continuing with the cyber pooches, we have Rex. Rex is another fun boy. He's a good boy. I'll be honest, he's a really good boy. I think of him as the better boy than some of the other dog meats that have been in other stories. It's a compelling quest where you have to save Rex's life, and you get to pick out his personality too by like picking Cyberdog brains. Unfortunately, despite being a very good boy, Rex doesn't have the carry capacity of Eddie, and also he's good for stopping, like, obviously all his attacks are melee, so he's like biting them and dragging them down and stuff. But having a companion that attacks at melee like that limits the things I can do. I can't just lob grenades at people if he's always running in the middle of them and getting himself knocked out. So he's a good boy, but he's not super useful outside of his quest. So I'm afraid he's going down to C. C for Rex. Apparently it is close to canon. What is close to canon? I wish I could bring them back together as well. I do like the song. Yes. Okay. I'm not sure what's close to canon. Random thought, what if Chris was voicing the Stealth Suit Mark II? Oh, that would be fun. Oh my god, that'd be very adorable. Yeah, just imagining that is pretty fantastic, actually. Oh, okay. Next up, we have... we did him. Okay, going through the other lesser New Vegas companions, we have Raul, the Danny Trejo character, who he's a ghoul and he like does repair stuff, and he's got like I think a plasma pistol. I'm gonna be honest, I never really had him as companion either. Like I usually I clean out his cabin, his house before I go up and save him, and then once I kill Tabitha, I just kind of let him go. I'm like, okay, be free, bye Raul. And that's kind of it. He's not the companion for me. He doesn't carry heavy firepower, and I don't know. I'm sure he does have a quest, but I've never actually done it. So I'm sorry, Raul, but it's just not that interesting to me. I'm putting you down in F as well for never even used as a companion. Okay, next up, speaking of Fs, we have Lily. She's so nice, Lily. And she's like the grandma ghoul, and she just wants to see her grandkids. And you're compelled to take her as a companion to do the little, kill the Nightkin cave thing or whatever. But other than that, she doesn't compel me, at all. I don't know what her quest line is either. I don't know, what's her big, end game quest that you take her on, but she's also an F. Because really, just the idea of, an actual old lady who is a super mutant now kind of weirds me out, too. I'm not going to lie. It's just kind of I don't know. It kind of weirds me out. So I never took Lily anywhere. So Lily down in F. Okay, here we go. Now we're in the good zone again. Rose of Sharon Cassidy. Oof, what a spicy vixen. Our alcoholic of the wasteland. Also known as Cass or just Rose or Whiskey Rose. Born in 2244, Cass is the daughter of John Cassidy and a tribal woman he met on his travels after parting ways with the Chosen One. So her dad was a companion in Fallout 2 for backstory purposes, leaving her only his name and a pendant, and his shooting skills, propensity for violence, and hard drinking. She's fantastic. She's a solid go-to companion. Companion who was my companion for several of my quest lines. One of the only problems she poses in the DLC in the game is that is the odds she has with fucking the what are their names? The Van Graffs of the Silver Spittoon of the Silver Rush. So obviously, when I pursue the Silver Rush quest line, I've never really actually finished it. I know how it ends because I've seen it online, but it's I can never give up Cass to them because fuck them, they're assholes, and Cass is so fantastic. I usually end up just wiping out the Van Graff's entire gang, and then just for the hell of it, then we go over to Crimson Caravan and wipe them out too. So basically, the playthroughs where I was aligning NCR, I kind of had to just like stop working with Cass, or take the route where it's like, oh, we'll report it to Ranger, what's his name, at the Mojave Outpost, and we'll kill them with the crushing weight of New California bureaucracy, which is really kind of funny actually, but it's not cathartic. So only doing those during the NCR playthroughs. But Cass is very Bay. She's very up there with Bays in New Vegas, so she's going A tier. Rose of Sharon Cassidy. A solid A tier. And in the line of A tiers as well, we have Boone. Boone, everyone's favorite widower. Boone, whose entire character trait is "my wife is dead." Oh, it's so sad. He just wants to forgive himself, but he can't. Boone, who served in the NCR Army until the Bitter Springs Massacre, where he was forced to shoot. What was it? Wait, he Yeah, so his wife's disappearance, and then he had to kill her, right? I'm pretty sure. Have I forgotten that part? Rescue wasn't possible. Yeah, he mercy killed his own wife when he couldn't save her from the horrors of Legion slavery, which, definitely involved all kinds of slavery, which is horrible. So it was a mercy killing, and all indications are that she would have agreed to such terms and conditions. But still, it's very sad, and it's very hard to get Boone out of his sad place. But otherwise, he's a fantastic companion. He's still NCR aligned, but he's got all that gruff, bitter sadness, like he walked out of a Cormac McCarthy novel and into the hearts of millions. Absolute bro, the number one go-to male human companion that I would have in my New Vegas playthroughs. Timeless classic sniper. He gives you a really cool hat. That red beret is very styling. So Boone, Craig Boone, former NCR 1st Sniper Battalion, solid A tier. I'm writing all these down. Don't worry, I'm not gonna forget. Oh, the chat lit up. At SkyBolt, Roxy, you kind of create Roxy, and Rex is alive, and Roxy becomes a standby, becomes his girlfriend. Oh, that's sweet. Puppy love. I don't think they can have a litter of cyber puppies. I don't know. We'd have to look at the character models, but I think some bits are gone. Some bits are mechanical now. You could never really get Raoul as a companion, at least on the 360. The game crashed on 360, and I never went back up to Black Mountain. Oh yeah, if we're talking classic Fallout bugs, when Dead Money first came out, it came out over Christmas. Says New Vegas came out 10 years ago in October 19th, I want to say. And Dead Money came out over Christmas, and I was excited. I played that shit over Christmas. And it was hard, because I played it on, hard, I think, and I suck at video games, so it was very hard, but I eventually beat it, and then I came back, and Eddie was mad at me. Eddie started attacking me every time I tried to pick him up in Prim, and that was because of some coding error in the game. And that was my only New Vegas playthrough at that point. So it was oh my gosh, I've lost my favorite companion. I literally had to turn off New Vegas for 4 months until they finally released the patch through Xbox on the 360 where Eddie wasn't mad at you anymore after you defeated Dead Money. Gosh, that blocked me out of the game for 4 months. That really sucked. Luna, I'm sorry, I don't know the character. Oh, of the suit? Yeah, the Mark II is a stealth suit. It's a nice robot voice lady in a mechanical suit. Kind of like Cortana, but she doesn't physically appear. I mean, she's not very she doesn't have a personality per se. She kind of does. She has like a quirky like two-dimensional personality. It's not like an AI. It's not like Curie tier, but yeah, it's very interesting. She's very adorable. That's her number one character trait, is just being adorable. Not an in-game ending slide that says it all. Oh, really? For the puppies? Well, I'll be damned. All right, then. There you go. Rex and Roxy. And all their little... all the little rocks that they got off. New Vegas probably had the best radio songs. Yeah, I really liked the New Vegas radio songs. Obviously, because I parodied a good chunk of them. Okay, who's next up? Have we gotten through all of New Vegas? I feel like... oh, no, we're missing the big one, of course. Of course! Veronica herself. Veronica St. Tangelo. Let's go to her page. Oh, shoot, I didn't close it, did I? Fuck, I might have closed it. Okay, Veronica. Probably, honestly, for me, probably the number one female companion of the game. Or, she's a close second. I'm going to say Rosa Sharon Cassidy does beat her, but Veronica is so close, right on the sliver there. Again, because she's a melee character. She fucks up my range. She fucks up my ranged attacks, but she's very close. Veronica, fantastic. She just wants one thing, and that thing is a dress. And if you get her a very nice dress, she is going to be so thankful, which is really, really adorable. I always put her up, I always like build her up as just the total beef meat character. I get her the metal reinforced armor, so it's just this big tanky, road warrior looking steel outfit, and then her hood still pops out of the top, which is really adorable. And otherwise her personality is just like really excited, like I just want to dress, and then we're gonna go punch some stuff. Oh, and even better, her loyalty above all else. She's so loyal to you that no matter her love or commitment to the Brotherhood of Steel, when you've just decided that the Brotherhood has to die because Mr. House said so or someone like that, you can go down into the bunker with her and you can flip the self-destruct buttons, and she will help you punch every last one of them to death until you leave the bunker and kill all of her friends and family that exist in the world. So that only you and your little cadre of your little posse comatose of psychopaths are her friends now. And for that alone, that unbridled loyalty alone, it puts her literally tied with Rose. That's like they're on different metrics that they excel at, and it's so very close. Either way, a solid A for Veronica Santangelo. Okay, and I did forget one from New Vegas, of course. Arcade Ganon, the follower who has the highest standards among all of them. I think he just feels that way sometimes because he's always nipping at you. Like, why are we doing this? We can't talk to Caesar. It's like, bro, chill. It's a quest line. we just got to get to the point where we can drill a hole into his head and then walk away. Arcade Ganon, follower of the apocalypse, and a very fun quest line too of Outlying Sign, where you have to gather all of the Enclave remnants and to help you out in their little vertibird for the Battle of Hoover Dam, which is really neat. It's a neat quest, and you get some good shit in it. The Ganon family power armor, which is good armor. It's one of the best armors of the game, except for my personal favorite, which is the Elite Riot gear that you get at near the end of Lonesome Road. But Arcade's Remnant's power armor is pretty sweet. Really fun guy, really interesting. He's always quoting cool stuff to you when you're talking about Legion stuff. He's like, here's where they're wrong, and they're misquoting this, Roman historian or whatever, because Caesar's a bit of an asshole. Really, really fantabulous. I usually give him a better plasma weapon just because that's his thing. You gotta, dress him up nice. Yeah, I don't know. I use him a lot, but it's like, in terms of how, like I said, he talks too much sometimes. It's like, he can be a little bit bitchy sometimes. That's all I'm saying. When you're like going in Legion stuff, or you're trying to play like a neutral playthrough for a while, so you can do the most quests or something, he gets a little bit too upset. So that bumps him down a peg. Arcade Ganon, gonna be a B. Okay. Is that it? I think that's all of New Vegas now. I think so. What else? If you count the suits, does the medical power armor count in Fallout 3? We're not going back to Fallout 3 because Fallout 3 had a really remedial companion system, and the only companions I ever used in Fallout 3 were like, what's his name from the bunker from Vault 87. The super mutant guy, and then kind of dog meat sometimes, but I never do the puppies quests, and it's a hassle to go back and pick up a new dog meat, even if you do the puppies perk. So I'm like, I just never really had companions in Fallout 3. So Veronica gave 0 fucks. Yeah, it's so great. Is it weird that House is trying to make you kill the Brotherhood in what combined with Vegas an acceptable loss? And the NCR is why I almost always go wildcard. Yeah, no, a lot of my wildcard runs were just because I genuinely didn't want to kill the Brotherhood, because I didn't think they deserved it. So that was like, yeah, I cared. I cared, Veronica. Okay, let's review for New Vegas and get our final list together. In the bottom tier, the F tier, we have Roxy, the dog I never used in Old World Blues. Raoul, just because I don't know. I saved him, and that's it. He's not really a good weapons or interesting companion otherwise. Lily, because an old lady ghoul or old lady super mutant kind of weirds me out, to be honest. In the D tier, we have God Dog, who's just terrible. He's the one that drags you and puts a bomb collar on your neck, so fuck him. God Dog stays in D. We have C tier with Rex, who is a great robo companion, but he's vastly outshined by Eddie. He's got some personality, but the melee attacks kind of work against my playstyle. So Rex sits at a C. Walking Cloud and Follows Chalk from the Honest Hearts DLC. They are great companions, and they really help flesh out the story of Honest Hearts, which is honestly kind of thin in a lot of ways. But still, they are not compelling enough to be like, rise above. They don't have that extra spark that makes them interesting. Also in C tier, we have the Lonesome Road Eddie, who has a very fun story. He's a very emotional robo and really, really neat to follow you around the Lonesome Road and give you guidance and everything, and break up whenever Ulysses is talking. But he's limited to that, and that's kind of it. Then we have our B tier, where we have the stealth suit from Old World Blues, who's so adorable that she's been written on the ticket. She's been written on the ticket like Ross Perot, and placing in a similar position. Then we have Christina Royce, which is if only we got more dialogue out of her, especially with that Vera Keys voice, because that's a very nice voice. Dean Domino, even though he's the bad guy, he is at least interesting. He's charismatic. He feels like a villain who is actually like legit villainous and not like a preachy asshole like Father Elijah. Then we have Joshua Graham, who is also not really a villain, but he's like dark hero, anti-hero, mainly because of his high use of violence to get things done. Very, very fun character, very memorable, lots of memes. That's how you can tell there's a good character, is if there's lots of memes, lots of fan art. Then we have Eddie. the companion default for most New Vegas playthroughs, because he's an absolute pack mule. He doesn't complain about anything arcade. And then he and once I always upgrade his assault laser anyway. I know some people can upgrade the armor. The upgraded armor looks better with his defense stats, but the laser is really powerful. I really like the laser. So Eddie upgraded with the laser. We have Arcade Ganon in B tier. Really fun story, good armor, good quests, and interesting people to talk to in the Outlying Sign plotline, and his backstory with the followers of the Apocalypse and the Enclave is really neat. But he can be still kind of like, he's a little bit too overbearing sometimes. He's a little bit too snarky. He has one peg over the line of an acceptable level of snark, in my opinion. Then in our upper echelon, we have the top three. Craig Boone, Veronica Santangelo, and the Rose of Sharon Cassidy. And it is so close. I don't want to tie them. I don't want to like puss out and not give them ranks. So if forced at gunpoint to pick which one is which, I'm gonna say Rose of Sharon Cassidy is number one for numerous reasons. Most of which being that for 12 times I've decided against following through on the Silver Rush questline just because Rose is so fantastic. Second, just below her is Veronica Santangelo, also because of story points with Christine, with being loyal and letting you kill the Brotherhood with her, which is really surreal, and being just really a really fun character, really fun person. She just wants her dress. You got to give it to her. And then third is going to be Craig Boone, who only loses points A because of his undying loyalty to the NCR, even though he recognizes all of the NCR's faults. And then B, the mopiness is just a little bit too far. Like, I get it, man, but just chill out. Take a Mentat or something. Just got to chill out a little bit. So that is the New Vegas list. You forgot one thing, though. He is Enclave. I mentioned the Enclave stuff. That was this whole main quest line, is that he's Remnants. For Arcade, you've portrayed a song in New Vegas called "I Got the Spurs That Jingle, Jangle, Jingle." No, I've never done that song. It's a fun song. It's definitely like one I've considered, but I haven't actually done it before. So we are going to let me reset. Let me reset because I'm not sure if. I'm not sure how many photo files OBS can handle. OBS can be kind of persnickety sometimes. And then we are going to take a 1-minute commercial. And we are back. Had to go pick up Amazon delivery at my door. I live in a pretty safe neighborhood, but still, you want to pull that in right away because I have lost stuff from my doorstep years and years and years ago when I first got to know Needle. I had won one of the things from the Sackbrony Expo back in 2013, a plushie that was delivered to my doorstep, and some door thief must have pulled that plushie out of the box and been so very confused. So anyway, and also adjusted the air again because California is hot as hell this week. I see. I've been seeing a lot of memes on British Twitter, especially about how blazing hot it is in Bongland. So I feel you. California is also pretty spicy right now. So. And speaking of spicy, Coronapona is also spicing up quite a bit. So hopefully you guys have been enjoying an assload of new cases on that. Yay. Okay, we have other stories, other stuff we will talk about. But first, I want to finish the character ranking. This is a fun game. I'm enjoying this right now. So let's open up the list. Fallout 4. So, Fallout 4 definitely overhauled the character system. I still think New Vegas was probably a little bit better, but Fallout 4 made it a lot easier to work with the character mechanics. So in the same kind of vein, we are going to start from the very bottom of the list of the least interesting character companions, and then we're going to work our way up. So, first up on the docket is Porter Gage. He just wants everyone to be friends. He just wants all three of the bloodthirsty, psychopathic raider tribes of Nuka World to be friends and function well together. Porter Gage grew up in a small farming settlement with his parents, watching them give in to raiders' raider demands without a fight. When he was 12, they were raided again, and he used the chance to run away. After taking odd jobs to earn caps, eventually he realized something about the raider way of life, that he wanted to be one of them. So, okay then. Before Gage knew it, there's gunfire, and I'm not reading the whole thing here. Anyway, Nuka World is an interesting DLC. It's full of content for sure, but not all of that content is interesting. And one of the main plot lines I was interested in was just getting that blue X1 armor that's locked in the space station. And when I didn't do that, I got kind of mad that I couldn't find all the fucking star cards. So I'm like, I don't like you. And not only that, but it's also, it's New Vegas. It's Fallout 4, so it's got kind of mixed writing in that sense anyway. It was enough where the DLC inspired me for the mercenary, and that's about it. Gage isn't a bad guy, but it doesn't really hold my interest. So, and I didn't even know he could be a companion, so that kind of caught me off guard too. So I'm afraid he's going in the F tier. F tier for Porter Gage. For being not interesting, that I didn't even know he was a companion, and I never even finished Nuka World, so I had to discover online how that DLC ended, which is neat. It's a neat ending story once you actually get there, but I didn't actually get there. Next up, we're going to the good Fallout 4 DLC, and that is Far Harbor. Where's the picture now? There he is. Okay. We have Old Longfellow, the, what's their descriptive of him? A native of the island of Far Harbor is technically just the port. The island is, I think it's called Mount Desert Island in real life, which is kind of interesting. Longfellow is old enough to remember previous occasions when the radioactive fog had covered the majority of the island before eventually retreating. So it's like a climate thing. It's not the goofy children of Adam doing some kind of witchcraft on the fog or opening all the radiation vents of the nuclear subbase. So, Longfellow's a seasoned hunter. He's got a really sweet look to him. He's got kind of a swagger to him. I don't know. It's something I liked about Old Longfellow. As a companion, I did have him like once or twice, but generally I like to just stick with my own companions when I was in Far Harbor. So the ones that we'll be talking about later, the ones that are already on top of the list for Far Harbor. However, I will make one note of interest as far as old Longfellow goes. How he ended up playing a role in my own writings. If I could pull this up in a fast way without it dragging on the time. Here we go. Okay. One thing about old Longfellow is he inspired the look of Loudspeaker, the previous DJ Pony who became the surprise ending character of Confessions of a Wasteland Pony. Just look at that. Look at that styling dress. It looks perfect. So, anyway, that is Longfellow's legacy in my Nuclear Horse series. He's a badass. Look at that chest. He looks like he could just punch you and you would die. But he was never interesting enough to actually really have as a companion. So I'm gonna put him in the C tier because he did contribute to a writing thing, which is more than I can say for most of the characters on this list. Longfellow. All right, next up on the list of characters I never really used, we have... Where is she? Ada. We have Ada from the, not Mesmertron, from the Automatron DLC. I think. Yeah. Ada is a heavily modified Assaultron robot with Sentry Robot and Protectron parts. She's created by Jackson, travel with him in the caravan, specialized mechanical repair. I think she's like the main driver of the quest line for Automatron. I've never actually finished Automatron, and there's a number of reasons for that, but one of them was like a glitch or bug in the game where it's like, whenever I joined Automatron, it would drive Curie away for whatever reason. I still don't know why, but it's like it would break it so that she would not stay by my side. She'd like go off in the distance or she'd turn hostile. It was like the dead money issue. So weird. I need to finish that at some point before getting Curie in my company, but I haven't had a DLC where I've remembered to do that yet. So Automatron and Ada go mostly unused. Obviously, her name is referenced to Ada Lovelace, the real-world mathematician and early pioneer in computer science, which is cool. It's a neat reference. So we're going to give Ada D tier in the list. Because it's not her fault that Curie keeps getting jealous. Okay. Speaking of lesser followed plot lines, then we have X688. X688 is a cool dude. He's an Institute courser who is totally on program. He's not deviating at all from the Institute and all its institutionalness. Unfortunately, there was only one playthrough where I actually aligned Institute, and was my very first playthrough. And at the time, I didn't know he could be a companion in that first playthrough. And then I never aligned Institute again. So it's kind of, I never really use X86. I think he can help him, like, wipe out the railroad, which is kind of weird and meta-ironic on some different levels we're not going to go into. But, I don't know. It's just, I never used him. So just by that alone, by the fact that I never used him as a companion, I'm sorry, but he's got to go in the F tier. He seems like a cool dude, but yeah. I only aligned Institute that once, and who did I have as companions during that? It was, I want to say it was Valentine and then Piper at some point. So anyway, that's X688. Okay, here we go. We'll round. We'll keep on rounding out the ones that I never actually used. As you can see, I get set in my ways. Even if I have 24 playthroughs between both of these games, once I find favorites, It's mostly the game, the use of favorites in the games that's much more fun than just trying out all the different characters. We have Strong, the super mutant Strong, companion from Fallout 4, who you find locked in a cell at the top of Trinity Tower. I have let him out on the missions that I've gone to Trinity Tower, but I mostly play modded playthroughs these days on Xbone, and it's very buggy on Xbone mods, so I usually try to avoid downtown Boston because the game really starts to crawl in some of those inner city areas. So I've never really used Strong as a companion. What's his, like, plotline or story? He dislikes and appeal to Rex's citation of play, leading him to incarceration. Blah, 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 blah. He doesn't even seem like he has a story, per se. It's just like, if you want a super mutant companion, here's your super mutant companion. Not interesting, not a big story like, what's his name? From Fallout 3! I can't remember. Fuck. It's something with an F, right? Franz? Finch? Something with an F. It'll come up in the chat in a minute. Anyway, yeah, not interesting or memorable like him. Except for his name. His name is technically more memorable, but he's still going in F tier. I'm sorry. F for Strong, just because I've never even used him as a companion. Okay, next up we have... Who is next up? Okay, I guess this would be a natural progression, because didn't use him as a companion, but you end up working with him a lot, because he won't leave you the fuck alone otherwise. Preston Garvey, aw, my boy. Preston, everyone knows, you have to get to know him at the start of the game. You got to open up for all your Minutemen playthroughs. I use the Minutemen to a certain point. I never fully do Minutemen, like, ending. I've never done, like, when I finally learned about the sewer entrance to the Institute, that kind of blew my mind, because I've never done playthroughs that I actually use the sewer entrance for. It was always the teleporter RF thingy that Tinker Tom, jury rigs for you because of Virgil's plans. But he's a good guy. Preston, he's the true believer in the cause of the Minutemen, of being protectors of the Commonwealth. A very noble goal. He also promotes you, like, right away to General, which is pretty sweet. Because that General outfit is swanky as fuck. That is always, like, that's usually one of my go-to outfits in the game, is the General's outfit. I will get the General's outfit, and then I'll put Curie in the Maxon's jacket, Maxon's flight jacket, because, oof, she looks styling in Maxon's flight jacket. Anyway, so Preston, he's good. He gives you lots of, like, just grind quests, so you can really raise up levels early on in the game if you need to do that. So he's a pretty cool guy. So we're gonna put him in C tier. C tier for Preston Garvey. He might have been B tier, if not for the fact that he can be a little bit annoying sometimes. It's just a little bit of annoying with the another settlement needs your help kind of shit. You gotta chill sometimes, Preston. Maybe I don't want to talk about settlements today. Maybe I just don't. Oh, okay, we gotta step back down in the list again. We have, where's this picture? I know I downloaded it. There we go. McCready. Robert McCready. Okay. A former mayor of Little Lamplight in 2077, he is now a mercenary operating in the Commonwealth and a potential companion of the sole survivor. So not gonna lie, McCready was a much better character in Fallout 3. As the little smart mouth some bitch character, as the mayor of Little Lamplight, he was fun. He was really interesting. As an adult, kind of don't give a fuck. I think I met up with him once in one of the playthroughs. This kind of errs in my reasoning of avoiding downtown Boston, which I'm sure is also a good rule of thumb to live by today. Avoid downtown Boston. Yeah, so I think I've only stumbled upon him in and the Duncan and all that whole place like once or twice. So never really explored McCready's story or anything. never really felt compelled to search him out because he might be interesting or whatever. So yeah, he kind of goes on the F list too. I'm sorry. It's just never captured my interest. So, McCready. Should have stuck to Little Lamplight. Oh, completely unrelated, but I'm going to plug this anyway. One of the best Fallout 3 fan songs, which also involves Little Lamplight as like in the story of the song or whatever, is Wazer Rifle. If you have not Googled this, with both W's, like the kid says, because you get it in Little Lamplight, it's WAZER Rifle by Open Minded MN. Open Minded is the artist. It is an amazing rap. I'm gonna play 3 seconds. No, I'm not gonna play it. I'm not gonna get pinged. Fucking British Phonographic Institute. Google Wazer Rifle on YouTube. You'll see it right at the top. It's a fantastic Fallout rap. It is so kickin', so great, so fun to listen to. That's the best thing about Little Lamplight, just in general, was the making of that song. Okay. Next up we have... Yeah, we'll go with John Hancock. Pretty cool dude. Pretty cool dude just because he does a lot of drugs. No, he's a ghoul that runs Good Neighbor in a very kind of like ANCAP kind of way, which is kind of fun. He's a good guy. He's an estranged brother to Diamond City's Mayor McDonough. Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh, fuck, I'm just learning this for the first time. Then a non-ghoul, John cut ties with his brother after the mayor banished all ghouls from Diamond City. Oh, interesting. Resulting in the death of numerous innocent ghouls during as the inhabitants turned on them. John tried to save as many ghouls as he could by relocating them to the town of Good Neighbor, but many couldn't adjust to Good Neighbor. Their deaths would continue to torment him into the present day. John relocated to Good Neighbor, viewing it as a haven for those who didn't fit in elsewhere. Very punitive toward enemies. He became a ghoul sometime after 2282, following the use of an experimental radioactive drug. Oh, I didn't even know all this backstory. Fuck. Okay. I always liked him. I mean, I've had him as a companion maybe once or twice, I'll be honest. Again, I'm a creature of habit. But he's a neat dude, and the interactions you have with him are fun. And yeah, I don't know, he's just very, very chill. I can see myself as a fellow traveler of a ghoulish wasteland and cap. So we're gonna put him in the C. No, because I never really use him as a companion. We're gonna put him in the D category. He's a step above, even though I never use him as a companion. John Hancock. And also, the name is classic, and also a sex pun, which seems fitting for him. All right, next on the list we have the captain, the engineer of the locomotive of the railroad, Deacon. Deacon is pretty neat. Deacon has a really complex story that you learn over having him as a partner, where he's changed faces and identities so many times, and he's a little bit like the Joker in that you never really know if you've been given his real life story. Like, it's hard to know if anything is truth anymore, or if every single version he tells you are lies. But essentially, when he was younger, he got caught, supposedly, one of the stories he tells you is that he got caught up in sort of like a lynching gang and ended up helping them kill this woman named Barbara, who they thought was a synth at the time. And I think he never really knew if she was or not, which is also part of what disturbed him over the whole incident in his early life. And he sees a lot of his work in saving synths as recompense for that grave sin that he committed in his youth. Which is really great. It's a really great redemptive arc, a causal event, and I kind of like the man of many masks and no faces kind of personality that it puts forward. So I have used him as a companion some of the times. So I'm going to put him in C tier for Deacon, just because he has a really interesting story, and of course the work the railroad does is very good. He's definitely reformed, chaotic lawful, or what is it? chaotic good. Or maybe neutral good. They aren't chaotic, but he's very fly by the seat of your pants in a lot of the ways he gets around getting stuff done. Next up, let's go with... did we do everyone down here? No, we didn't. Let's go with Dan's. Next up, we have our brother from the Brotherhood, Paladin Dance, who you find out, spoilers for 5-year-old game, you find out later on is a synth, which is a major reveal concerning the nature of the Brotherhood being so viciously anti-synth. I'm going to be totally honest, I've never totally played through his storyline, but that wasn't my fault. A lot of the times I've tried to run the Dance storyline, I got a glitch early on where you basically can't resolve the first mission. Where every time you try to kill everyone at the police station, every time the ghouls at the very first instance at the police station, it'll never resolve. Where you'll talk to them and be like, oh, they're coming from around us. And I'm like, I killed literally everything in a mile radius around this building, and it wouldn't resolve. I think there are literally 4 or 5 playthroughs that kind of blocked me from pursuing a storyline because of that. But he is a really neat character, and and he's basically Buzz Lightyear, which is really fun. And you can get a mod that reflects that as well and give him Buzz Lightyear armor. Yeah, so especially if you want to play the Brotherhood playthrough, which I've only done once, and unfortunately I kind of like had to hack. I didn't use him as a companion. That was the thing. I was able to get through properly to them, but I didn't use him as a companion that playthrough for other reasons. So yeah. Obviously, the Pridwin is really cool, and the Brotherhood, even though they're kind of a bad guy faction, Paladin he seems nice, and it seems like let me remember here. Did they know he was a synth? Did they make the exception for him? The survivor will have to decide his fate. Should he survive the elements of blind betrayal, he will be grateful, and with Maxon's promise not to have him hunted down, stays to aid the survivor in their missions. Okay, so you can be his savior after it's revealed that he is a synth. So, that is interesting. And I have had him as a companion for short stints of time, so we're going to put him in the C tier as well with Deacon. Paladin, Buzz Lightyear. Dance Dance Revolution. Okay, let's check the chat again. What do we have? My favorite Fallout 4 companion is Strong. Oh, there you go. All right, everyone's got their favorites, of course. That's why this is my list. That's why this is my tier list. For obvious reasons. Oh, yeah. Downtown Boston, if you use any kind of mods, Downtown Boston just becomes a big well where your FPS goes to die. Okay, let's move on to Codsworth. Sir, Codsworth is great because he's your connection to the past. He was with you at the very beginning when the Great War starts, and then you find him 200 years later, which is really, really sad and also kind of funny when you have that first interaction with him after coming out of Vault 111, and he's like, "Oh, sir, it was so lonely. I don't know what happened to you and the missus." And then you tell her that she's dead, and he's kind of like, a little bit crazy. He's not accepting it for a while, so really fun. Codsworth is a go-to for me for a lot of the early parts of my playthroughs, just because he's a great utility. Just having a floating fire robot around, and all the fun stuff he does, and cutting up rad roaches with his saw and stuff. The backstory obviously is great, having him as like connection to your past as a character, and just kind of a neat robot. Obviously, there's a certain point where I don't use him anymore, and that's when I get a whole different floating ball of sunshine model to follow me around. But for being that longtime companion and friend, Codsworth is a solid B for sure. Okay. Getting higher. We're getting higher in the list. You know what's all coming. Next up, we have... who should we do next? We'll do her next. Next up, we have Kate. We get to the backstory section. Kate was born in a distant and abusive family of Irish descent, obviously. In 2261, her parents would routinely beat and yell at her. She attempted to run away twice, and the first time she did, they locked her in a shed outside the house they lived in, and the second time they broke one of her legs. Yeah, I remember reading that for the first time in the story. Oh my gosh. She eventually became convinced that she was a mistake due to their obvious constant abuse, and deluded herself into thinking that they loved her enough not to kick her out of the house. The illusion was shattered once her 18th birthday came, and they slapped a shock collar around her neck and sold her into slavery without a hint of regret. Oof, that's like... honestly, how do you not become addicted to drugs with that kind of history? Oh my god, that's so horrific and horrible. Like, oof. It very much reminds me of Battered Blade, actually. And I wrote that a whole year before discovering this plot line. It's very Kino. It says something. It's meant to be. Anyway, next 5 years, she's used as an entertainment slave. Oof. And while it wrecked her emotionally and warped her personality, Kate developed a significant resentment toward them, but did learn the tricks of their trade. Everything from stealing caps from the men that she was forced to sleep with, and to eventually managed to buy her own freedom. With 23 years worth of pent-up fury, she tracked down her parents and gunned them down in bloody vengeance. That's badass. After everything was said and done, Kate took to alcohol and chems to forget her past. She joined the combat zone as a cage fighter and fought to provide her with funds to buy everything she felt she needed to forget. So, gotta keep the drugs flowing. Hated everyone and mostly herself, and the pain and wounds in Psycho were her ways of punishing herself. Let's see here. The teacher of the vital lesson was this raider named Stratton who abandoned her, beat up by raiders after she refused to have sex with him. Then Soul Survivor comes around and you set her free. And then eventually, as her plotline unfolds, you eventually get her to, I forget what vault it is. I want to say it's like Vault 106 or something like that. It was a pain or a drug vault, or it might be 95. Anyway, there's a chair in there with like a super advanced detox machine. And once you resolve her emotional baggage by the use of your, all your being a really good listener and also talker, this is Fallout 4, so you have your own character as well. After being a good listener and talking her through her hard past, then you can put her in the chair and wipe. Are we reset yet? Hello? Okay. I think we're reset. I think you caught the end of my spiel on Kate. Hour and a half. We're at a good point. Okay. So Kate, really fantastic. A really great firebrand. Our favorite ginger. So I'm gonna give her a well-deserved and solid A character for Kate. Okay. Next up, since we're in the upper echelon of the Fallout 4 companions, we're gonna go to another another firebrand of a different print, so to speak. We've got Piper. Piper Wright is a reporter living in Diamond City in 2287, a companion of the Soul Survivor who she affectionately calls Blue, and then she has her younger sister Natalie. They grew up in a small community, blah, 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 local authorities about murder. So she becomes the number one sin sleuth, where she's hunting down all the stories about the synth and all the deep seediness of Diamond City and the Mayor McDonough, who we later find out is a synth. Furthermore, Piper was responsible for exposing a caravan cartel for driving up food prices in Diamond City. So she's your classic the fabled, mythical, righteous reporter who's seeking real truth and seeking to present that real truth to the public for the sake of their interests, rather than protecting major corporations. So in a lot of ways, she's great in that sense, where she is I would also say chaotic good, just because of her methods. She's very much, she'll very much go to different extents to get that story out there, which is part of why she's fun. Frequent companion, you hook up with her, quote unquote, pretty early on in the game if you pick her up at Diamond City, and can pretty much take her right out the door with you. And Nat can watch the shop. She's like 12. She's adult enough to be by herself in Diamond City. Pretty great, and yeah, I'll be honest too, the nickname thing is kind of adorable. One of the inspirations for me going with like the nicknames with Endos and the Ice Mare, what came for this, for always calling you Blue. So pretty great. Piper's a favorite, but she's not the favorite. So she's gonna get a solid and well-deserved A. Okay, and not now that we've been teasing almost this whole stream, the robot who's more man than almost every other man on this list, we have our boy Valentine, Nick Valentine, the hard is it hard nose? No, what is it? Nose to the grindstone, gumshoe, other noir terms, version 2 synth, generation 2 synth of the Wasteland. One of the very few, in fact, one of only 2 that made it out into the Wasteland. Him and the synth Dima, who runs the observatory in Far Harbor. So you meet Nick Valentine getting into Diamond City. Everyone's talking about, oh yeah, you gotta go see Nick Valentine. He will help you find your son. And then, if you saw absolutely none of the marketing for Fallout 4, you walk into the shop and you're like, what the he's a robot! After all of this hubbub over synths and their main detective in the city is a robot? And part of that is because he can't really, like, disguise himself. Like, he's not pretending to be one of them. It's pretty obvious that he's a robot. So, maybe he doesn't quite register to them. Did the stream stop? Oh my god, did the stream stop? Hello? Can you still hear me? I saw a weird blip. I think the stream died. Alright, I'm gonna keep talking anyway. So he's a robot. And he's got a fantastic voice of hardline, like, beat cop from back in the day, which is what was recycled into his personality at some point. The actual Nick Valentine that lived all those years ago in Boston, in pre-war Boston. And you even get to go hunt down your old rival, Edward Winter, through the use of holotapes, and then you also go on Vault 114 and Skinny Malone, and yeah, a lot of fun noir subquests. Really, really great character. The original Nick Valentine from Chicago, Operation Winter's End, bring down the boss Eddie Winter. Eventually, the Bureau of Alcohol, Drugs, Tobacco, Firearms, and Lasers, all the fun things, received intelligence of associates of Winter discussing her whereabouts, and the senior officers decide not to place Jennifer or Nick into witness protection in order to avoid compromising the investigation. Okay. I don't think I actually played through this story. This is Jennifer Lands, the original Nick Valentine's fiance. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, obviously everyone loves Nick. He's so great with his one-liners and comebacks, especially in the talk about synths. Whenever you're like talking to anti-synth characters, he's always got some kind of really, really well-placed response. Great at the bants. Everyone's favorite robot. Almost. There's other robots, but But as far as the Gen 2 synths, for sure he beats out Dima. As far as the Gen 2 synths. So, Nick Valentine, I'm going to give him a solid A. Solid A. Okay. Now, for those of you who followed me for the last couple of years, which should be a surprise to no one, we have saved our very best for last, and that is the Bay of the Commonwealth, Curie. Curie, the Miss Nanny robot who begins her life in Vault 81. Okay, there we go. Who begins her life in Vault 81 as a Miss Nanny in the secret Vault 81 that is constructed to spy on the regular inhabitants of regular Vault 81 as they perform a variety of experiments on them to try to find a panacea kind of formula that can protect against most kinds of drugs. This was the thing that inspired my little Stable 80 story, which eventually made it into Confessions for the Engineer, and then carried forward in plot-related elements there. At the end of you going through the Stable 81 quest, you find her, and she successfully created the panacea to the mysterious disease that they had cultivated in the mole rats that lived within the walls of the vaults. Unfortunately, all of the source ingredients have long died and broken down over the decades. I think it was like 90 years before the game takes place that she finished her work. So that is the only shot, and you use the shot to save the adorable little boy in Vault 81, the little rascal who got bit by a mole rat. So hopefully no one else gets bit by a mole rat. But you save him with the formula, and then Curie uses all of her linguistic martial arts to get herself out of the vault. Where if you continually tell her the truth, be like, wait, no, I'm not a Vault-Tec employee. Yes, I did hear that. You are a Vault-Tec representative, and I am allowed to go now. It's so amazing. It's so amazing during that initial dialogue. Starting off as a regular-ish Miss Nanny robot, her AI units were tinkered with by the doctors who ran the program over the years until she eventually got closer and closer to that, that Turing level of AI complexity, to the point where she even mourns their deaths, all those years later after burying them at the backside of the laboratory. But if you're smart and you take her with you as soon as you leave Vault 81, then she begins her life out exploring the wild wasteland that she has never seen before after spending 2 centuries in the secret Vault 81 just working on her little formulas and looking at mole rats. It's an absolute sensory overload to her. She's seeing so many new things and recording so much new data about the world and how it's changed over the centuries. But eventually she hits a wall, and she finds that she can no longer do any more research in her current form. And so she begs you for, what's the name of the quest line? Emergent behavior. She begs you to look into the possibility of becoming something more. And eventually it's, I forget who introduces the concept. It's to put her into a synth. And so you eventually talk to Dr. Amari in Good Neighbor, and you find that there's a thing where during the railroad setting synths free from the Institute, when they reset their memories to give them a new life, some percentage of them, it wipes their brain completely. They become totally brain dead, and their old personality is gone, where they're basically just cared for by someone who cared about them. And in one case, I forget what the Olivette, I think, whatever the synth used to be, her handler thought that this would be a good way for her body to carry on, to be the vessel for this new personality who's just seeking to be really a part of our world, so to speak. And she has that. There's more than one Little Mermaid undertone in that sense. But anyway, so she agrees to it after some convincing, and wabamo, now Curie is a synth. And over the course of the game, it is just so amazing watching her learn the new things and be so enamored by the wasteland while also dealing with some very human-like traits that now she is subject to. She cannot replace her arms very freely with new Mr. Handy or Miss Nanny parts. She has a new sense of her own mortality. She's hit with waves of new feelings and emotions that she's never experienced before from having a full human sensory apparatus now wired into her positronic brain or whatever the Fallout term for it is. That's our iRobot reference. Anyway, and of course, the French accent and the very cutesy kind of like what's the right word? I don't know. It's just an adorable personality. She won the hearts of millions, and millions of pieces of internet fan art followed as well. And eventually new characters that might have been inspired by her, such as Captain Frozen Peaks or Fouizy from the popular internet radio play series Confessions of a Wasteland Pony, Episode 6, The Ice Mare. So, if you would like a little bit more of a character like that, definitely check that out. So obviously, for all those reasons and more, and the fact that she's inspired at least 5-6 hours of my own storytelling, Curie is S tier. She's very best, like no one ever was. And it's not even worth collecting them all when you already have the best companion by your side in Fallout 4. So that's our list. So let's review the Fallout 4 companions. Starting off from the very bottom, we have Porter Gage, F tier, because Nuka World's not that fun, and Porter Gage doesn't really play a huge, it's not like a big thing having him in your party with you. Also F tier, we have X688, because then you have to align Institute, which is kind of hard to do, and otherwise he's not really that interesting anyway. Doesn't leave a strong impression. F, we have another F tier. We have Strong, mainly because I've just never used him. I kind of feel like he was just provided to be a super mutant character that's just there if you want to have a super mutant companion. We have MacCready, the adult version of Mayor MacCready from Little Lamplight from Fallout 3. And he outgrew being an interesting character, unfortunately. D tier, we have Ada from the Automatron DLC, which unfortunately I haven't really gotten to experience much of because of a glitch in Fallout 4. However, I do someday want to play that DLC through to completion because I like where the ending goes. I think it's a neat ending surprise for how the Mechanist works out. Also D tier is John Hancock, who is really fun and cool and interesting, but I usually don't really bring him with me as a companion, so he's still down on D tier, unfortunately. C tier, we have Old Man Longfellow, who played some inspiration to me in my writings as the clothing designer for Loudspeaker. Longfellow, a neat character, being the companion, the notary companion of the best Fallout 4 DLC, Far Harbor. Pretty cool dude, pretty neat old sailor that still has a bit of fight left in him. Also in C tier, we have Preston Garvey, the true believer in the cause of the Minutemen, who gives you really sweet threads in the General's jacket, and also some pretty sweet digs in the castle. So it's hard to argue with that. Unfortunately, he can be a little bit annoying, so, I never really use him as a companion. But as a story point, he's a really interesting character. Deacon, the man of many faces and no truth to him, from the railroad, who has a dark past where he got swept into a bit of a lynch mob and ended up killing someone who they thought was a synth, or maybe she wasn't a synth. And either way, the guilt from being swept into that mob mentality like that continues to haunt him and drove him to put pretty much everything he has into this organization that saves synths from the Institute and their centralized mind control. It's a pretty defining part of his redemption and his personality. Otherwise, he has a really swanky kind of like greaser vibe to him, which goes really well with the Neo 50s of Fallout universe culture. Also in C tier, we have Paladin Dance, a very devoted knight, paladin of the Brotherhood of Steel, who eventually learns the dark truth that he himself is a synth, one of the robots that they are hell-bent on basically massacring if they get their chance in the Wasteland. And that fact kind of breaks him and kind of reshapes his outlook on life. But otherwise, he's a neat guy, and he kind of he seems like he's trying to do good. He's just a little bit confused by what that good should be until he ends up on the other side of it. In the B tier, we have Codsworth, our Mr. Handy robot that has been with us all the way back since before the war. He was around back when Nora was still alive, and back when Sean wasn't so much of a dictatorial asshole. So, if only Codsworth could have helped somehow keep Sean from the clutches of becoming this Institute, horrible father person, he would have been a little bit better. Codsworth is really fun, really interesting, classic British butler personality, but he's still just B tier. Then in our A tiers, we have Piper, the reporter from Diamond City, who's pretty sweet. Yeah, just pretty sweet. She's interesting. She's got a bit of a spunky, that's the right word, a spunky personality. Seems like she's really committed to the absolute truth, a very, very noble journalist in all senses. And fun for the early parts of the game. And it's adorable how she calls you blue the whole time. Whatever your gender happens to be at the moment. And then we have Kate, the horribly mistreated Irish cage fighter who's really just looking for a way to forget, looking for a way to get past all the horrible things that happened to her in her past. And so as a player character, it is very rewarding helping her through those issues, both psychologically and then eventually physically, when you're able to get her to a de-addiction, magical addiction dry out chair and break the hold of the psycho and the other drugs have on her from her years of abuse from trying to forget. Then we have Nick Valentine, the Chicago cop personality recycled into a Generation 2 synth, who is eventually set free by the Institute, kind of just thrown away on the surface. But using that old template of his old personality and his current history as a synth, he develops himself into a very honest, hardworking private detective and finds his way into Diamond City and helps so many people in the Wasteland. He also has some great comebacks that he'll just quip out whenever someone talks about synths or robots in general. And then, of course, finally, S tier, for all the reasons that we've talked about just a few minutes ago, we have Curie. Just the most adorable French waifu of the Wasteland, inspired by a really important real-world figure, but with just the most adorable personality. Oh my god. So much so that I wrote 5 hours worth of a character around her in the form of Fweezy. So, go check that out if you want to see more of my psychological projection of my my love for this character. So, yeah, she's the S tier. She's the best Fallout companion that ever was. And probably ever will be, because I don't think Fallout games are going to be fun anymore. We'll see what the future holds for a Fallout 5 or whatever comes down the road, but for right now, that is the state of things. So, hopefully you all enjoyed this. Something a little different to do with my live streams, since I'm trying to find ways to fill the gaps on the channel until I can start uploading parodies again. Fucking weakened. So, yeah, it's something else. I'm still hoping my channel doesn't get taken down either, because it's going through my channel tooth and comb, going through every single one of my every single one of my old videos and seeing to what level the copyright has been violated for those videos. So, here's hoping everything works out well. I'm still in the process of screenshotting comments and stuff, hoping the whole thing doesn't get nuked. So, Anyway, but bearing that, that strike should lift at the end of October, and hopefully I will have a song ready to go by then, either as a Halloween song or just something somewhat afterwards. We'll see what happens. It's still got a bit of time before we get there. Anyway, so at the very least, we'll do at least one more of these kind of Skyblog things to fill in the gaps. And just shoot the shit. Talk about what's been going on. For instance, I feel like I'd be doing a disservice, since we talked about it on the last live stream, if I didn't update everyone on the news of Halo Infinite development, Infinite dev cycle. The news dropped yesterday that Halo Infinite is being delayed, and almost 100% that is due to the Microsoft digestion of the internet reaction to the Halo Infinite showcase from a few weeks ago. And quite a number of issues were raised, especially from major Halo community members, big time YouTubers and stuff who talk Halo all the time, or some of the time, like the Hidden Xperias. You've got your Eckhart's Ladder and your Installation Zeros, your The Actmans, and a lot of them shared very similar opinions as longtime Halo fans, which I can co-sign for the most part myself of. The graphics were a little disappointing. It obviously does look like they were meant to be ray trace. So hopefully with the ray tracing properly applied, a lot of those textures will properly pop when they're done. When they're done, because obviously they're not done. We have the tried and true Craig meme. Craig, everyone's favorite Installation 7 Zeta Halo brute, who makes his first appearance in that showcase. His skin's just a little bit too soft. It's not quite 4K next generation graphics, as many people pointed out. Which was especially shocking considering how good the 2018 trailer looked. Like, I was totally sold on the new Slipspace engine just by that 2018 trailer. I was really starting to get excited. Now, obviously, development of an entirely new game engine and the very bold expansion that this game is going to be, open world and covering almost the whole Halo, it sounds like they want to do, versus a very linear storyline like past Halo main FPS games. So yeah, it needs a little bit more time in the oven. And also, definitely coronavirus probably impacted their whole development, day-to-day dev cycles and testing and interworking with each other. So pretty much we're all fine. Yes, put it back in the oven. If it won't come with Xbox at launch, that's okay. That happened to Halo 3 also. Halo 3 came out 2 whole years after the 360 launch, and it was better that way. Halo 3 ended up being a great game, a great finisher to the original trilogy, and this kind of has to be the same way. We really need this one to land, because Halo 4 and 5 both had weird problems at release, as being like basically unfinished games. Not quite to the extent that... I almost said We Happy Few. Not quite to the extent that No Man's Sky was, versus what No Man's Sky is now. But yeah, they need to get a lot of stuff a lot better before they actually launch in Infinite, because it's got to launch really well. It's got to really make a splash and then still get better, but it's got to be really good to start with. And it seems like they realize that too. So hopefully that moves along and they just get it done. People are still debating what 2021 means as far as the release. I'm kind of thinking it's going to be fall, especially because coronavirus, this ain't going away anytime soon. Old Coronapona, she's here to stay for many, many more years. At the very least, for one more year until they have some kind of workable, that everyone puts a green stamp on vaccine that they can give to most people who would take it. So, at the very least, yeah, it's gonna be an interesting dev cycle for them. So take your time, make sure it lands right, because I've already been waiting for 5 years, and that sucks. But this game has to be good. It's got to be good. We need to breathe new life into Halo. And on top of that, the soundtrack is actually pretty good. They've launched released 2 songs so far on the YouTube page. One is called Reverie, and the other is called Set Fire to Your Heart or something like that. And they were both pretty sweet. I'm sold on the new composers. I really like what they're doing with the score so far. So I'm hoping to hear a lot more. I want a fuckload of soundtrack too, obviously. I want like a Destiny-length soundtrack where it's just like 50 tracks of music that we can put in our playlists for writing and other fun stuff. So, it's exciting. I'm excited. It's going to be neat. Greetings from Russia. Greetings, Nestor Petrov. Welcome to the stream. Just as we're ending too. We're rounding out the 2-hour mark here, and I think that was a fun little live stream. Just something different, you know. We could talk about companions, and I'll try to find other things that we can do for the channel. One of my ideas, honestly, was doing a commentary track of like the MLP movie or like the final episodes or something, you know, where we do it sort of like Red Letter Media style, where it's just me talking. Like, I'll be listening on my end through a separate channel. I gotta set that up first to make sure it's a separate watch channel, and then we time it just right where it starts playing and then commentary over it. So that could be fun. That's alternate content ideas to keep, you know, just keep the channel breathing. Keep the blood flowing until we get to a point where we can start really releasing stuff again. And kind of figure out the future as well. So, anyway, thank you all for joining me for this fun little live stream. And for those of you in the future listening to it again, hope you enjoyed it as well. Definitely keep checking back on the channel, share around the East Corp channel. You know, we have new series on the way. That's the other thing I've been working hard on the last about 2 months, ever since Confessions finished, on the new series that I'm really excited about. Been doing a lot of art development and graphics and getting people cast, and I've already gotten basically a Duchess Horror worth of writing done on it. So that's going to be pretty great. And until then, thank you all for joining us for the... It's not the Break Room Podcast. It really hasn't been the Break Room Podcast in a while. They all technically fall under the Break Room, like, overarching title or whatever, but more than anything, it was a Skyblog. Thank you for joining me for this fantabulous little Skyblog podcast. And once I find the theme song, Banana Casts. This little Banana Cast podcast. Thank you all for joining us, and I will talk to you later.